Okay. I'm glad you're sitting here waiting. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Joe Daddy's Garage. I hit the go button and everything froze. So you don't get my intro song, you don't get the countdown timer, and we're a minute and a half into it, and it came back up. I had to close out the thing and reload it, and so I guess when you're off for a week, the system doesn't want to work right. Yay! Okay, so that throws me off. Hello, hello, hello again. Welcome back to Joe Daddy's Garage. It is Monday, April 20th, 2026. And, as I've mentioned, I wasn't here last week. I know that everybody's used to me being on these live streams and doing this. I hope it's working right now. I'm assuming it is. But if you are new to my live stream, I try to talk about classic cars for the most part, and my bracket of time for that is 1955 to about 1980. Um, I, I don't have a lot of subject matter tonight. I'm just kind of doing this because I need to. And I know that a lot of people like to watch this and see what I have going on. So I hope it's working. Let me know. Give me a yes or something so that I know that it's up and running. Now, um, as I said, I wasn't here last week. I went back up on April 4th. My wife and I drove up to Pennsylvania to visit my mom. And we had planned to come back. Okay, thank you, Mr. Cirino. Or Sereno. I keep saying that wrong. Sereno. Tell me I'm right. Sereno. Okay, so we drove up on April, I think it was April 4th or something like that. No, 8th, whatever it was. And we had planned to go from Wednesday to Wednesday. And while we were visiting, we spent every day going to see my mom. Now, my parents live, let's say, here, and my in laws live 30 minutes away here. And so I was staying at my in law's house, and then I would drive every morning down to see my mom and spend the day with her and help take care of her as much as I could. My mom is on a slippery slope. She's not gone yet, but she is not far off. So she is very weak. She is barely eating. I think, when I was with her, she might have had on one day a bite of yogurt, and on the next day a bite of Jello, and sipping water, and had like one sip of coffee. So she is really declining. She basically is sleeping most of the time, and I was able to talk with her and communicate with her, which was good. I thanked her for being my mom. I told her, anytime that she needs to go, it's her decision. She doesn't need to wait for anybody to tell her. And she understands me. She knows that. But she is sometimes I need to hear that. So currently, my sisters are taking care of mom, and are making arrangements probably to put her into a hospice house within the next day or so. If not, she's going to be at my oldest sister's house and spend time there with her, where she could be taken care of and be given everything she needs by my sister. So it was very tiring, taxing. Whenever I do stuff here, yeah, I get tired, but it's a different type of tired. Just sitting still and talking to mom, or just not doing anything really. It wore me out more than doing work. I'd rather be, I need to go walk, and I need to be, doing stuff in here and all these things. But it was mentally probably exhausting more than anything. So we drove back on Friday. Talked to my mom one last time Friday morning, and we drove back, 12:30 13 hours, whatever it is, to get back to Georgia. And then Saturday and Sunday, I mean, I didn't do anything. I was exhausted. And today I haven't really done much. You know, I've been waiting on hearing from TCI on the headers. I haven't seen any messaging or anything from Sal, so I don't know what the status is. When I left, I had handed off the floor pan pieces, the tunnel pieces, to a friend of mine, and he was working on making those pieces, and so I haven't even talked to him. So I'm not even sure what the status is right now. So I'm just kind of in limbo, in effect, with what's going on, and here, you know, I'm taking care of stuff in the house, and you know, whatever. It's just a normal type of things, but it's I mean the end is coming. We all know that, and it's I'm glad I got to see Mom, and glad I got to talk to her and tell her I loved her and tell her I appreciated her, everything she's done for me in my entire life. And you know, and she needs to hear that. They need to hear that regardless. You know, so don't wait till the last minute to tell somebody that. Let them know ahead of time. That we all need to hear that. So, while I was visiting, I did, you know, get to see family and relatives and that sort of thing. And I also made another trip up to the old junkyard. Now, as I've said before, you know, the junkyard's gone. You know that. I've shared pictures of that before. It's completely destroyed. There's nothing left there. But I like to go visit just because. You know, it's still my home as I look at it, and that's how I see the property, and that's where I grew up, and that's where I learned, you know, most of everything I've done on cars. And so it means a lot to me just that I still have access to it. And so I want to show you some pictures because previously when I went there, I did not do any exploring. I stayed on the front of the property. And that picture that I have on the thumbnail, that was this picture. And that was the house. I talked about it before. And the garage under construction my dad was building. And that's the tank that Dad used to move stuff around. It's actually an M4 high-speed tractor. And that thing, it still exists, but it's not. We don't own it anymore. It was sold, and so somebody else has it, and I'm not sure what they're doing with it. So I know there was a question about that, but I walked around the property. I figured if nobody's, there's no trespassing signs or stuff like that. So I don't even, you know, if they want to come after me, that's fine, whatever. But there's really nothing of value, let's say, there. But there is to me, there's some things of interest. So I'm going to show you some pictures here because I just found this interesting. So the property itself is cleared of any vehicles. There's nothing there. There's some tires and different things. But up in the woods, off to the edge of the property, Dad had leased some land there, and he had, you know, we had stuff up there. There's old tractors and stuff. They're all gone. But I saw this, and I want to show you this real quick. So this is a pile of windshields. Now, every one of those is curved, and you can see in the background, there's one in the upper portion of the picture. You can see the curve on it, like it's out of a 55 Chevy or a Oldsmobile or who knows what. But all of these are curved glass pieces or windshields, and you can see the growth there and the, you know, all the stuff piled up around them. And I was surprised. I saw that. I was looking around, and I guess I expected them to have cleared all this property off, but they didn't. And so these are windshields that probably my dad cut out of cars back in the 60s when he was doing something with them, you know, whatever. But they're still there. And so I was kind of surprised by that. And then I saw this picture here. That those are like rims off of an old Model A truck. And so you look at the tire sitting on top of the pile with the axle, the differential housing, like the banjo setup. That's typical for like a Model A, and these were still sitting there. My dad used to take those housings that you see sticking up like a funnel, and he would cut those and make a notch in the small end. Let me back out of here. Picture. Okay, he would, it's got a taper, so he would cut a V or a groove notch in the short, the narrow end, and when he worked on cars, he would lift them up in the air and use those as jack stands. And so we used to have a bunch of those around that Dad had made that were just jack stands. And that I was like, ooh, can I get that? But I wasn't going to take a chance and get in trouble. I left it there. So another thing that I found interesting was this, and I probably don't have a picture available right now, but in my dad had a wrecker, Studebaker wrecker, Transtar. It would have been like a 2-ton, 1.5 ton, 2-ton wrecker. It had dual wheels on the back, and it was a tow truck. And in the 70s, my brother took that wrecker apart, like he was going to paint it. So he pulled everything off of it, pulled the bed off, sanded it, and then it just sat. And it sat, and it sat, and it sat. And about, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years ago, not even that long, maybe 5 years ago, when the property was cleared, that truck was still there. And it got scrapped. It got hauled off. It didn't have the bed on it anymore. And it was not worth fixing. Trust me. I had opened the doors on it. They were falling off of it. The thing was barely held together. And I was surprised that the grill, that's the grill that was in the truck. And again, I thought about taking that out of there, but I feel like it needs to stay. I tried to pick it up, and the top portion was busted. And I thought, if I take this home, what am I going to do with it? I don't have any room on my walls. And that's like a landmark on that property. Like it can stay there forever. It doesn't matter. So that was still there. And then I went up to, let me see what these other pictures are if I have. Let me see what this one is. Oh, so there was a pile of cinder blocks up towards the top of the yard. And we used to use these cinder blocks to stack underneath cars. And so if we were going to pull tires and wheels off, we would lift it up, put the cinder blocks underneath, stack them up, and just let the body sit on top of those. But I thought it was pretty interesting whenever I looked at those, and I remember so many times, we even had some that were solid. They were not hollowed out. They were like a cube, a concrete rectangle, let's say, but they were absolutely solid. I don't know if there's any in that picture or not. Can't really, see any in the picture. However, I saw this and I thought this is really cool. That nature was trying to take over and take that back, take that cinder block back. So anyway, I looked at all that stuff, and then I want to show you this real quick. As I'm looking around, I'm like, is there anything here that I could just maybe put on my wall again at some point? And these 3 pieces were laying in the dirt. And in fact, the Freightliner grill piece, I think it was upside down. So I saw the edges of it, and I thought, that looks odd. I want to see what that is. But then the Ford hubcap on the left, which unfortunately had a dent in it, and the Rambler had hubcap on the right, you could see it's pretty bad. It was pretty messed up. So I want to show you these because today I was in the garage and I was like, okay. So I cleaned up the Ford hubcap. And when you look at this stuff and you think about every couple of years, they made sets of these by the thousands to go on cars. And, it's stainless steel. I mean, if this didn't have there's a dent on this side right here. You can just see it when I move it around. This dent. Somebody could probably fix that, but you think about all these parts that they made in the tens of thousands, and the machines that stamp these things out. And I like it. This is going to go up on the wall. I've got another Ford one there. I've got a Dodge one somewhere. I don't know if I have it on the wall. But I also spent a good part of the day reshaping the Rambler hubcap. Now, nowhere near perfect. Nowhere near. And it's not going to be. It was pretty bad. Let me just pull this picture back up so you can see. Look at how smashed that hubcap was. I mean, it was like run over by something. And I got it to look like that, which is good enough. Let me get the R right. Yeah, this is good enough for hanging on the wall. But I think I did a pretty good job, considering all I used was a rubber mallet and some blocks of wood. It'll be perfect on the wall. So the other thing, as I said, was the Freightliner. So I'll find a place for this. I think it's pretty. I don't know if we've ever had. I don't remember ever seeing a complete truck on the yard, like having this in it. So I don't know where this came from exactly, unless it came later on. But there's a part number on the back. I did not research it to figure out how old this is, but it might have been kind of cool to paint this, just to brighten it up a little bit. So that was there. And then this. Okay, so I'm not sure what this was used for, if it was used for animals, like a horse drawing something, but it has these extra loops on down here in the bottom. So there's the extra round. I'm assuming it was for some sort of, animal, horse or mule or something, to pull something. But this was laying right there with that pile. And I thought, I'm just going to go ahead and grab that. Now, these links are almost worn out. I don't know how well you can see it. I'll put it up on my hat. You can see the wear and tear on these links. So obviously this isn't something that I would use for anything. It just would be wall art. But if you can tell me what this is for, I'd be happy to know. So anyway, that was the extent of the junkyard visit. Walked around. Of course, my brother's, his ashes are spread up there, and there's still, I think, one apple tree up there and some pine trees, but for the most part, everything's, it's just cleared off, just gone. But also, one more thing, I have to show you this because I did manage to find, it took the day before we drove back, I went shopping for gobs. I've talked about them before, and I found gobs. So I've talked about these, many times. These are a Pennsylvania treat, let's say, and they're hard to find. When they do show up at the store, people do like what I did, and we buy the whole box. Now, and those are, some people call them whoopie pies or something like that, but the gobs is native to where I lived or grew up. So, okay. So I've covered a lot of ground real quick on all that stuff. I'm going to go through the list and see who's here tonight. And maybe we can have, something to talk about. Maybe. So first one in, Rick Stevenson. Welcome, Rick. I'm glad you're here early so I can get a drink. My voice is getting rougher and rougher. Not just from like talking, just life. Whatever's going on, my voice is consistently staying rough now. So I guess I have to go with it. Start being one of those, do some singing with a rough voice thing that people like. No, not going to happen. Okay, glad you're here, Rick. Rick Gain, I think we could all use a little bit of cheering up. Let's have some good car talk. Everybody give Barry a big thumbs up for tonight. Thank you, Rick. Appreciate that. Terry Keithley, good evening, everyone in Barry. It is chat night. Please hit the thumbs up and like button for Barry. Thank you kindly, Terry and Betty and the cats. Thank you, Terry. All right, let's see. George Crackle, welcome back, buddy. Hope the trip went well. It went okay. It did. I mean, I it's the end is inevitable, right? As I've said before, we all know or even our clocks are ticking. But Mom's ready to go, and I'll say she kept asking me every day, "How long is this going to take?" She's ready to go, and you're free to go, Mom. Not going to hold up. Not going to. I would never put that pressure on her to say, "Oh, well, you have to wait for this or you have to wait for that." No, it's on your time, Mom. I'm glad you're here, George. I don't know if I gave you a bell or not. Steve Reed, hello, Barry, and everyone. Hope everyone's doing well. Don't forget to give Barry a thumbs up. Thanks, Steve. Hope all is well where you're at as likewise. How about that? Dave Tyson, good evening, all. Good evening, Dave. Let's see. Travis Holtman, excited for car chat. Good evening, Barry. Virtual hug goes to you. Thank you, sir. I will take a virtual hug. It's better than no hug at all. I'll say that. Troy Justin, hi, Barry and gang. It's good to have you back, but I wish the situation was better. Nice picture of the beast at the junkyard. What happened to that? Yeah, that thing was. My uncle and my dad bought that thing back in the '60s. And it's, like I said, an M4 high-speed tractor. It was a tank retriever. I think it shared a chassis with like the M60 tank. And it was used before my dad and uncle bought it by the logging companies. They would buy those things surplus from the military and use them to pull trees out of the woods. And so I think they still use it. People still use them today to pull logs out. And so they bought it from a logger. And, Dad turned it into a junkyard machine. So it's been sold, though. I don't know who bought it, but I know it was sold like 6 or 7 years ago. My brother sold it. So thank you, Troy. Glad you're here. Nandu, good evening, Barry and everyone. Hope you're doing well. Thank you, Nandu. Likewise. Ed Cucciarella. Hello, all. Hello, Ed. Hope all is well in California. Pat Attic. Good evening, all. Hope everything is okay. Thank you, Pat. Yeah, everything is mostly okay. David, the bowler hat guy. Hello, all. Good evening, Barry. Good evening, sir. Roger, Hindsight 67. Greetings from next door. Glad you're here, Raj. Dawn's Manufacturer. Hello, everyone, from Getting Warmer and Finally Drier, PDX. Welcome back, Barry. Sorry about your mom. Thank you, Dawn. And thank you for the email you sent me. I do appreciate that. It's like I said, it's inevitable. It is what it is at this point, and we're just waiting for that final bell to ring. James, My Mustang Garage. Good evening, all. Good evening, sir. I haven't caught up on your videos yet. I haven't. I've just been chilling, not really doing much. And Mr. Sereno, all good on this end. Thank you, sir. Whoops. And Dave Tyson working good. And Rusty's Restoration. Hello, Barry, and all ready for some car talk. Give a thumbs up. Thank you, Rusty. Steve, hope you had a great trip. It was, as far as the trip goes, it was good. It really was. The drive was good. The visit with family was mostly good. There was some conflict between siblings, me and my, but that's water under the bridge at this point. But it was good to go and see my mom and dad and my wife's parents as well. They're in their 80s, still doing well, but it was great to spend time with everybody. As we have moved on in life, we used to make trips up there with our kids over the summer. We'd go up for a week or 2 weeks or something. But at that time, I wasn't doing much in like this stuff. And for me to not be in my garage is difficult. It is very difficult because this is my happy place. This space is my happy place. And, I feel better today being here and being in this environment. Whenever I'm at either my parents' place or my in-laws' place, and you live under their rules, right? You pay respect to them, and if they want to watch TV 24 hours a day, that's their prerogative. Or, their TV shows, that's fine. But I'm getting back in tune with my space right here. So it was a good trip, though. Rick, I told my dad it was okay to go a little over 2 years ago now. I know how tough that must have been for you. Yeah, it was one of the hardest things that it was the hardest thing I've ever done. And I mean that. Emotionally. Physically, I've done much worse. But emotionally, yeah, that was very, very, very difficult. But she did understand, and she accepted what I had to say. So it's fine. Mr. Sereno, it's almost like getting stressed out. Yeah. Yep. Terry Keithley, this hasn't been a good year for sure, Humberry. I've never been so low in my entire life. And I'm sorry for that, Terry. I really am. I know Betty, as you said, meant the world to you. But there's things that are out of our control. And while believe me, I don't want to lose my mom. I know you don't want to lose your wife. There's really no easy way to say anything that's going to make it any easier. We just take each day by day, and we have to adjust and adapt and remember those times that we shared with everybody. And I'm definitely not comfortable, let's say, with knowing that I'm going to be losing my mom, but I also know that she's going to be in a much better place. She's going to be better off, when she's not suffering anymore. So I take comfort in that, knowing that she'll be in a better place. Shannon Vaughn, hello everyone. Hello Shannon, glad you're here. Hey Matco man, hello everyone. Hello sir. Dawn's Manufacturer. Ooh, you've been gobsnacked. Yes, gobsnacked is exactly right. I am. I've got them, and I'm gonna eat all of them slowly. Troy, I finally got the whole convertible floor pan on my 65 Fastback. I put it in first, then put the inner rockers in after. It seemed the easiest way. Still have welding to do. Well, a good job. Give you a bell on that. That's a positive. Pat Attic, I'm on the edge with buying a rotisserie. Since you've used one and built a frame jig, if you had to make a choice between the two, which would you pick and why? Well, that's a hard answer because I have both. It depends on what you're doing. So my jig setup overall is meant for not only building a car, but rebuilding a car. So if I need to do something on a future vehicle, if let's say I had one that was wrecked or something and I needed to reset the frame rail or put in a rear frame rail or, figure out what's off, I can use that jig as a guide. Now, for me, this is stuff that I do all the time. So I have the benefit of having it and knowing how I built it and why I'm using it. So I have that, right? The rotisserie, now we had one of those at our body shop years ago, and it came in so handy. It really did. and I have this one here. Um, and I feel like it depends on what you're doing. So if you're not cutting a car into pieces and you're not splicing in frame rails or, rebuilding something, the rotisserie is probably more beneficial. Like when I did the Cobra Jet and I wanted to do the underside of the car, well, I could rotate that thing up, get underneath there and sand it all out and undercoat it, whatever I needed to do. It was easily accessible with that. To me, that's the advantage, is being to access the bottom of the car and make sure it's all good. But past that point, I don't know what more you're going to get out of it. Like, I know some people will put hang doors or something while it's on a rotisserie. I don't want to do that. I don't like to do that. I'd rather have the car like on its wheels. I'm not going to put a car on a rotisserie with suspension under it and try to rotate it around. So the benefit is I can access the bottom of the car. I can rotate it, get inside the car, and take care of floor pans or, clean stuff up a little bit easier than it would be if I were laying on the ground or had it on the lift. So that's where you got to weigh it out. Where do you see yourself using this and how? Ideally, like some people have done, they've taken my jig design and they turned it into a rotisserie as well. So they've taken the jig and built a rotisserie on it so they could do both, which I think is a great idea. I'm not going to do that. I want to keep things separated. So that's the challenge. Where are you going with it? What do you want to do with it? But I like both because I have both. That's a great question. I hope I gave you a good answer. David Wright. Good evening, everyone. Barry, on my 68 coupe on the drive shaft tunnel behind the driver's seat, there's a bump out with a hole in it. Oh, on the tunnel on the driver's side. There's probably two of those. Might be two of those. I know there's one for sure. That is a location for your brake line. So what they did is they had a little clip that went around the brake line, and it had like let's say an arrowhead shape to it. So when it went around the brake line and it went through that hole, that held the brake line to the bottom of the tunnel. That's what that's for. That's typically, now I see Dawn is answering, the fuel line, at least I know on a 68, comes through the torque box and then runs down the frame rail. It usually goes underneath, inside of the inner rocker panel. And then it kicks over and goes to the back. There's a bracket plate. I probably have one laying here. It's a heavy duty steel plate that it pushes it, protects it and takes it over to the frame rail and goes up. But those holes are for your brake lines. So that's a great question. And there's a special clip for those, so you know. Dawn, David, that is where the clip that holds the brake lines and fuel lines stick through. Yeah. Yeah, and that's what I was saying on a 68 for sure. I know that the fuel lines are more outboard. They're next to the flange, the pinch well. So that I know. On the earlier cars, I thought they were the same way. Maybe I'm not thinking right. I know Dawn knows more about the earlier cars. Thank you, Dawn. James, David, the bump was used to hold a clamp clip for both brake and fuel lines. Harvey, Raleigh Cat Garage, hello, Barry from New Jersey. Glad you had a safe trip. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. David Wright says, thanks, Dawn. James, Pat, for rotisseries, make sure you have at least 24 feet to clear. Oh, yeah, talking about the length of the rotisserie. That is very important. Robert, the Infernal Craftsman, evening. I just got back from taking care of Mom. Made, I'm guessing, dinner over there, not dinner, but I will say dinner. Glad you're here, Robert. Terry Keithley, Coffee and Gobs. Boy, what life. Yeah, they are good. Kenneth Gilmore. Hello, Barry. Would you recommend just to buy new Dynacorn doors for a 69 Mach 1 or just reskinning them if the inner structure looks good? Reskin them. Just do it. I put the Dynacorn doors on the Cobra Jet, and they worked. But if you go back and look at my videos, I had to massage those. Like I had to take the one door, and it might have been just the way it was stamped. I had to, the bottom flange, I had to cut it and reshape it to make it match the shape of the door, right? It was also had a bit of a wave in it. And then the upper portion where it meets the fender, the curve wasn't right. And I did what I do, and I took a socket, laid it in that curve, and I smashed it to make the curve, to create the curve that should have been there. Now, I have not reskinned a door. I've never done that, but I might be doing that. But I've heard good things about reskinning the doors. The inner shell matters. There have been times where companies have made aftermarket doors and they don't get the holes in the right spot. People have had to move things or have had to cut stuff loose and weld it back into place. So the inner structure of an original door is probably worth having. So I would, if you can do it, I would recommend trying to do the door skins. I might be ordering some of those myself before it's all said and done. But yeah, do that. Give it a go. Don, 6-cylinder cars had the fuel line in the tunnel. Okay, there you go. I knew there was some difference. I mean, I trust you on this. Like I said, you know more about these than I do. I've never worked on a 6-cylinder Mustang. Not one of these cars. So all I'm familiar with is the ones having it on the outside. So that makes sense. Pat Addick, thanks for the input, Barry and Mustang Garage. Yeah. I mean, they're both really beneficial, but you really got to weigh out the end purpose. Now, the other part of that is, as we're talking about this rotisserie and jig setup, many people will buy a rotisserie, use it to do their project, and then sell it. You don't feel obligated that you have to hang on to it. I mean, you could buy it, use it, and just about get your money back out of it, and never have it in your, not have to give up any space. So consider that as well. Just a thought. I won't sell anything because I'm doing this all the time. Well, I say I won't sell anything. You never really know. So what else was there? Not a whole lot else going on, back in Pennsylvania with, I didn't go do much exploring besides that little bit of time at the junkyard and, being with my mom and stuff. I was looking around. I will say my dad has, he's kind of created his own little junkyard at the house they're living at. Once you do that stuff, you always do that. Even like, granted, I have, 4 or 5 cars around here, 6 cars. I don't even know what the number is. But I was looking around and Dad had, he's got several cars around the property. And while I was there, some guy stopped and saw an old Dodge van that, that he was looking for a front end, like fenders and a hood and stuff. And I really haven't paid much attention to what vehicles Dad has sitting there. So I went out with this guy and I was looking at it, and it was a 75 Dodge 3/4 ton, fully loaded. I mean, it was decked out as far as the options go. They had under the hood, like if you look at an old Chevy truck and they have on the glove box, they'll have all the stuff that's in that vehicle. And that's what it did on this Dodge. It was a extended version. It was like a 15 passenger van from 70, 5 or 6, and it, V8 automatic, power steering, power brakes, everything you could get on this thing, and it was a 3/4 ton. It wasn't in the best of shape, but the guy was interested. He was looking for a hood, and right now he was looking for a hood prop. So my dad sold him the hood prop for $1. Here you go, you can have it. But come to find out, there's another one on the backside of the property. I didn't know about it. It was a '73 Dodge, whatever the tradesman, I don't know what they call them, and it was a 318 automatic, but it was like the camper version. It had the pop-up roof on it, and it had, I just looked inside, there was a bunch of stuff in it, but there was like a kitchen countertop looking thing, and I'm assuming it was a camper of some, but it wasn't like built out. It was just one of those that had a pop-up roof, and it was like a camper thing. So I ended up telling the guy, I said, hey, there's another one he may need to go look at later. But it was just kind of funny. I was like, I didn't even know the thing was back there. And it was a 73 Dodge van. But yeah, Dad has a few cars piled up around the house and garage where they live now, and we're going to be dealing with that later. So anyway, let's go back here. Troy, I would recommend reskinning an original door, but buy good skins like Dynacorn. I bought cheap ones that were bowed, and I could never get them to fit right. Yeah, that's a value of, buy the best you can. I would not recommend CJ Pony stuff, just because I don't like much of anything CJ Pony sells under their branding. I've seen too many messed up parts from them. Ricky and I still miss my 6-cylinder Mustang. Wish I hadn't given it away. Last I heard, it was rotting in a field in South Jersey. Yeah. The only 6-cylinder Mustang that I messed with, hold on, let me get a drink, was a 70 Coupe that I talked about in the past, that I'd converted it over to a 5-lug, and I'm gonna think I should still have a picture of it. No, maybe I don't. Maybe I deleted that. But it was that's the only 6-cylinder. Oh, here it is. Yeah, it's with right behind my 72 Chevy truck that I put the stacks on. But that was at the junkyard. But the 70, the Mustang was a 70 6-cylinder 3-speed manual, and I put a 69 front clip on it and converted it over to 5-lug all the way around. And that was the first Mustang I ever built or rebuilt. That car was wrecked in the right front, and I put it all back together. And I only ever got to drive it around the junkyard. I never drove it. Like, I could drive it on the road, but it never got back, it never got inspected. My dad, for some reason, didn't want to get it inspected. And then that car I remember I went back to visit one time, and it was, my brother had used, he was crushing cars, and he used a forklift and set that car up on top of an old bread van. And I was thinking, well, I can't even get in it. What am I going to do with it? And I thought about doing something with it at that time, but it was permanent now. And then later on, I think he ended up crushing it too. So it was a fun little car. I mean, it was fun to drive. 3-speed manual, of course, is a 6-cylinder. That's kind of the way to go. Dawn, I was going to say, you junkyard dudes will sell everything. Yeah. Everything's got a price. And there's probably I probably need to start addressing some of this with stuff that I have. Um, as I'm progressing, there's no reason for me to hang on to everything that I have, but I'm still going to try to keep building stuff, for other people, obviously, and still try to get something done of my own. My stuff always gets pushed to the side, like, nope, not today, not today, not today. Kind of like my dad's Studebaker truck, the wrecker. My brother started on it, and he just kept putting it aside, putting it aside, putting it aside until it's eventually unbuildable. So, um, we all have to make those decisions at some point. But right now, I don't know what my schedule is going to be over the next couple weeks. I know that, like I said, Mom is going to be going into a hospice house or hospice care, and that's the last step on the path. There's nothing after that, and so I don't know when or what we're going to be doing as far as timing. Obviously, when Mom passes away, there's stuff we have to take care of, and funeral and all those sorts of things, and I'm going to be part of that. So I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing, trying to get stuff done. I need to contact Sal and find out what's going on with the headers for the Fangled Fastback. I have not heard from him, and I don't know if he's waiting on me or not. But he said whenever he gets them made, and he's satisfied with them, which is very important to hear. When he is satisfied, then he will send them to me, and I will do the test fit. So we'll find out when that happens. I will contact my friend who is working on the tunnel and see how that is coming. Maybe I can get back over to their shop location next week or something, or well, maybe this week yet. We'll see what he says and see if I can't get that taken care of. But for now, I'm getting my mind back into being in here. A couple days of recovery from 10 days of stress. So it's getting better. It is definitely getting better. And I'm just going to have to, get stuff done and keep moving, as we all do. Keep moving forward, one step after another, right? Keep on swimming, as they said in that Disney movie. Rick, we'll be going to Hazleton, Pennsylvania at the end of May to bury my aunt's ashes. Not looking forward to that. Yep. That's it's never fun. Never fun. So, I think that's all I'm going to do tonight. Like I said, my voice is already rough, and I don't know why. It's doing this every day now, and maybe that's just what I'm going to have the rest of my life, is this kind of gravelly voice, I guess. At least that's what I'm hearing. I don't see it changing. That's for sure. Not going to get probably any better anytime soon. But I think that'll be it for tonight. I do plan to be back next Monday unless something else happens. And if not, I will try to make a post on YouTube to let everybody know, what the status is. But that's going to be it for tonight. I'm going to see if my little video will play. So thank you all for being here. And until next time, take care of yourselves. See ya.